This is Ethan with Combat Radio with a look at Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This was scripted by Goldman with the idea it'd be Jack Lemmon and Paul Newman in the two leads. It then went to Steve McQueen, who dropped out over billing. Newman lobbied to get Redford involved, who was known for barefoot in the park at the time, but Zanuck, the head of the studio, resisted the casting until he saw dailies and realized the partnership worked and they were going to be riding a hit. Conrad Hall shot it, beautiful work by him. Sam Elliott makes an appearance at the top of the film as an extra. What's interesting about this movie is it really highlights and outlines the sympathy Butch Cassidy had with the American public. The Wild Bunch, they're known as the hole-in-the-wall gang in the film because there was another production shooting at the time called The Wild Bunch, but the Wild Bunch, which numbered between 18 and 40 members, they were always reluctant to shoot up a town, use their weapons, and scare people unless they absolutely had to, and as a result, a good part of the civil population was on their side. There's a hilarious part in this movie where Kenneth Mars from Young Frankenstein is trying to rally up a reluctant posse, and a bicycle salesman steals his thunder because nobody wants to run these guys down. Look, there's Cassidy, who played Lurch in the Addams Family. They were chased by the Pinkertons, who never caught a single outlaw. What the Pinkertons were good at was passing information to local law enforcement officials so they could do the job, such as the case with the James Younger gang. The James Younger gang, by the time they made their way to Northfield, the local law enforcement, local militia were well advised, knew what to expect, and were prepared, and they were able to bury him there. So what the Pinkertons were actually good at was the passing of intelligence and information. They invented the wanted poster, but they had never actually made a high-profile arrest themselves. They chased the two outlaws along with Etta Place, whose real name was Ethel, down to South America, first to Argentina, then to Bolivia, where they attempted to go straight. They met their end in San Vicente, where Butch actually shot his first man in his final shootout, and some say it ended in a murder-suicide, where Butch shot Sundance and then himself. And other members of the Wild Bunch had committed suicide when they were cornered as well, rather than give themselves up. Other people say they got away. Archaeologists went down to San Vicente to excavate the graves, and the DNA tests on the skeletons came back negative, so nobody knows. Lula Parker, Butch Cassidy's sister, visited the set on this during production, and she claimed Butch Cassidy visited her up until 1925, which is like 15, 16, 17 years after his death. Other people in the Wyoming, Montana area claim to see both Butch and Sundance. Incidentally, he's called Sundance because he did a stint in Sundance prison. The movie himself is pretty brilliant. There's a couple of key parts in this that are interesting. Woodcock is a real character. He was, in fact, robbed by them twice. Strother Martin's character, Percy Siebert, also is a real character. He lived. He was not killed. He actually also claimed to receive a letter from Butch after his death. It's never been authenticated, I don't believe, but it does add to the mystery. And in fact, I think it's best we don't know. I think it's nice that there's an element of intrigue and mystery to all this. Were they killed? Did they make it back to the United States? Who knows? But either way, see the film, because it's a classic.